If there is a company we can learn a lot from about branding, visual identity, and just making people feel special, that is Chase Bliss. In this video, I'm not going to talk about sound at all. You can see plenty of videos about Chase Bliss, about their work, about the remarkable Joel.
Hi everybody.
And the team. Fantastic people who I've never met. I just think they're cool because I like the brand. Before I continue, this is not sponsored in any way. I don't know them. They didn't send me anything. I actually bought this as a case study. Our goal is to teach people how to design and release instruments to the world. Part of this, which is actually very challenging, one of the biggest challenges, is to bring an idea to the world. I think that these guys are doing a fantastic job in this. So I'm going to talk about the things that I think are interesting here so we can learn from them and release instruments that are as inspiring. Before we continue, I got some surprising news. I received the Synthux. This is the faceplate and this is the electronics board, and we're still trying to figure out if everything is working. So an update on this is going to come very soon. But until then, there's even an enclosure. I made a couple of prints to see what color we should use. Maybe you guys can give me a comment what you think about this. Still a lot to work here on. So this is not yet ready to share with everyone, but I wanted to just show off a little bit. Anyway, let's talk about this. So, Mystery box. Mystery box is cool as a concept, as a marketing stunt, you could call this. You know, a marketing stunt can sound like a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's like a party. People are organizing a party and inviting people. Some people are going to like this party and join, and they're going to pay money to join the party. So in this particular thing, you're signing up to get one of their devices for a discount, and you might get some actually two devices inside, because some of these boxes are mystery boxes that are going to get something else. The thing is, you don't know what you're going to get, so you might get this, but you might get something else. And so this on its own is an interesting marketing campaign. It creates anticipation, and it's like a secret, and we're all part of the same secret, and it makes it more unique perhaps than just offering, I don't know, 10% discount for Black Friday or whatever. When you are designing something, especially physical, but in general also digital, you always have constraints. There are certain things that you need to take into account. And in this case, we are talking about a box. Okay, what's special about this box? Well, I'll show you how a regular box looks like. This is a regular box. This is how cheap boxes, well, not very cheap, but like, I mean, good quality, nothing special box. This is how they look like. They have some text on them. You can't really control. You have the brand of the box here. You can't really control any of this. You just get this and put your product in this. So, for example, we would put this in like plastic and then put it inside here. Let me quickly grab something here. Yeah, so you can see that there is branding here, obviously. So this is Simple Fix, this is Touch 2, and they have their own sort of logo, and it gives you a bit of information. And even if you stock these like that in a store or in a warehouse, then you can see from this side also what this product is. This gives you a bit of an identity, but still keeps the costs and production. Also environmentally, it's much cheaper and economic to do it this way. In comparison, we can look at this box and immediately see that they have color. They also have print on the box. There is a difference. There is a sticker and there is a print. And why is there a difference between the two? Well, the first thing is you need to think about the manufacturing of any of these. You can print stickers by the thousands, and it's fairly cheap. So this is full color print. You can print these as a roll and then take off that roll and stick it on the boxes. These, on the other hand, these boxes are actually quite expensive to produce, and you need to produce them in really large quantities. So that's clever. I'm going to design my brand with no indication of the product on this whole box. And then I'm going to have a sticker, which is cheaper, and I can print in lower quantities with the name of the instrument. So any of the instruments is going to come with the same box, which I can buy in large volume, and with a sticker that is going to indicate the product itself. So that's the outside box and transition. Let's continue to the inside. Yeah, the graphic design here is fantastic. This sticker is really cool. I don't know who made this. Maybe if you guys know who is the graphic designer that is working with Chase Bliss, do write in the comments. Now, let's look at this for a moment, because we're still in the box. So there is the product itself, cool, and there is... This is awesome too, because you can actually see this is also made to size for them. You can see their logo right here. I wonder how this is done. Maybe you engineers who are following me, let me know what is the process of making this? Can we make something like this for our products? How would that work? Do tell me. Yeah, that would be super nice to have something like this that you just put in the box, and you don't need to use any nylon or anything. This is super robust and it will keep everything intact. Yeah, that would be super nice. If you guys know how to make these, let me know in the comments below, so maybe we can find a manufacturer to work with us. And then we have another booklet. I wonder, what is this? Yeah, it basically has to do with regulations. If you're selling an electronic device, there are certain regulations that you need to follow, and if you do, then it's all good. So they put this in the back because you actually don't really need that. They put this at the top, and you put this here. This is cool, also from the Mystery Club. I can imagine this also needs to be produced in bulk. I don't know how many they had to produce for this, but it's also a really cool thing. What we do is we have keychains. Again, because we are young and small and don't really have such budgets, we work with what we have. This is from workshops. This is the first keychain that we produced. And every year we produce another one of these. They're keychains, and then they're also 1U, so you can put them in a Eurorack system as a blank. And they're also touchpads, so if you look carefully here, you can see this little dot. If you solder a wire to this and you connect it into an MPR 121, the touch sensor, or actually any touch sensor, you're going to touch this and it's going to trigger whatever you assigned. This is funny, and I like these kind of things because it again defines the brand identity, the language. And if you've seen any of the videos that Joel puts out or the team,
I'm terrible at this. This isn't me. I wish there was somebody somewhere that could help me with communicating this stuff. Professional pitchman, fancy, right?
They're just really funny and cool. So, you know, like the sticker is going to be like that as well. Let's talk about the manual. I have here a few manuals from different manufacturers. Digitone, so I think larger company. I don't know if Electron is a larger company or maybe the same size, but yeah, Electron. 4MS, I'm quite sure they're smaller. Eurorack, if you guys are not familiar, beads, plats, and stages. That's mutable instruments, of course, and then we have Instruo. Now let's put these one next to another for a moment, and I want you to think about the identity of these. Think about keywords like playful, professional, engineering, design, art, and so on and so forth. If I am looking at something like the Praga from Chaos Devices, first of all, this looks really cool. I love this. This is the kind of design that I would really enjoy because it's old school, vintage, definitely scientific. I don't know, when it comes to aesthetics, it's not like you can put the finger on why you like something or not. It's either you like it or you don't. And these are the kind of designs that I really appreciate. In terms of aesthetics, this is very sort of scientific. You know, it's inspired by old school machines. When you look at the design of the devices, they also match. So everything here matches. This is a really good brand identity. The document, although kind of cheeky and funny with this funny advertisement, I guess, from I don't know, 1955 or whatever, and the device itself, they really fit. And if I'm thinking what makes this a scientific design, first of all, it's inspired by test equipment and different devices that were designed back in maybe the 50s or 60s. You can see that it's really about accuracy. You can see all these numbers, you know, the lines to indicate exactly where you are. All the typography is all caps, and it's narrow all caps, so it almost looks like a line. Everything is very blocky and fits together in perfect alignment. If you read the manual and you know the quality of their devices, you understand that this is what they're going for, and this is what makes a really good design. So if we go back to the manual also follows the same visual language, which is great. If we look at the Digitone, for example, this is nice. Not to diss anyone, I really love the Digitone, and it's probably my favorite FM synth, like probably many of you as well, or people around the world. I don't have the new version, I have the old version, but it's a fantastic device. If I look at the design of the manual, it's informative, but it doesn't really have a character. If we look at the 4MS manual, it's informative. I would put it in the category of the Digitone as well. It's informative, it's good, and at the same time, it's very, very hard to read. It's super small. I think that it was designed maybe for an A4, but it was then printed into this compressed size, which I suspect is an A... so this is an A4, then this is an A5, this is an A6. I think it's an A6. It's something like an A6. So this was printed on an A5 and then folded and stapled. And it's, again, it's good. The unit is absolutely amazing, and I will not replace this with anything else. This is a fantastic delay and looper. However, in terms of the design, you can see that the design of this, not the design of the unit itself, but the design of this, although it does match the visual language that we see in the unit, the investment in the manual, in the design of the manual, was minimal. And again, I'm not judging anyone. This is something that happens in a lot of companies and a lot of manufacturers. I can tell you that I am trying to invest as much as I can in everything, and still there are so many things that I feel like, I would love to have more time and more money for these kind of things. So it's a give and take. One company can invest in this, another company can invest in this, especially when it comes to smaller companies. You really need to decide what you're going to be investing your time in and what you just don't have the time or budget for. But it is something to think about, to pay attention to, and think when I'm designing my devices, what am I going to pay attention to first? After, of course, like, you need to have a product. that's the main thing. But we're talking about like further steps. Transition. Okay, let's talk about Chase Bliss. So in terms of consistency, if I'm looking at the package itself and the manual, obviously same colors, same shapes, that's perfect. And if I'm looking at the device itself, obviously it matches as well. This is great. If I'm looking at the content here, this really feels like one family. And let me put this aside. Let's look at some smaller details. So in terms of typography, what I love about this is that it's pocket size, it's super small. I can put it in my pocket and I can take it to the living room, just chill on the sofa and read this and learn. Maybe just connect the device into something on my table and it will sit perfectly next to the unit, and maybe my Audrey, and I can play with both of them together and learn about the, you know, the little details that they added to this unit, the surprising settings that I could discover when working with this device that they've worked on for many, many years. I think it was like 8 years I saw in one video. But yeah, so this is meant for me to sit down and read and really enjoy the process of reading a manual, which, if you think about it, is quite exceptional because no one likes reading manuals. And maybe comment below if you can name other companies who are doing such great job in designing their manuals, because it would be nice to maybe collect all these different companies and like, yeah, just know who we should learn from. There is another element that I think would be relevant to talk about here, which is the materials. This is a cardstock, probably something recycled, which is super nice. And it was printed offset, I think. When I was a graphic design student, I worked at a print shop for over 3 years. So I worked at a digital shop. We couldn't really print this stuff because this is white, and the printers could not really do that. I am quite sure that today you could actually print white on, so white as a digital print, but back then it wasn't really possible, so this would be offset. Anyway, in offset you had to print a really big batch. You can't really print offset for like 200 units. You need to print thousands. Otherwise, it's just very costly. This is probably also some sort of recycled paper, and it's maybe 80 grams, similar to maybe 100 grams, similar also to this, but this is glossy, and this is, it's not even matte, but it's some sort of recycled. I'm not sure exactly what paper this is, but it's definitely not glossy. And I think that pretty much covers it in terms of the material in comparison here. But what I wanted to do next is to talk about the content, the language that they're using in these. So transition, squish, relax, wobble. Again, if we're comparing this to Praga, for example, Praga is scientific. I wouldn't expect to have such sentences here because it doesn't really fit the language. The language here would probably be, I don't know if I'll be able to find something quickly, but it feels very mature and scientific in comparison to Chase Bliss, which is much more playful, childlike. I'm not really sure if I'm going to find anything quickly here to make this point, but I wonder if, for example, we would see such control characteristics that are very relevant for this mixer, if we're going to see any of this or something like this here. Although if you think about it, this is actually a compressor, so knowing how the compressor is going to behave and what curves it's going to have is actually quite important. But you don't necessarily have to have it. You know, this is not a scientific kind of device. It's an experimental device. So as an experimental device, you just mess around with it and you just want to know some of the basics so you'll be able to figure out your way through and discover all sorts of Easter eggs. Yeah, I don't think that they have anything like this here. Hidden options. Here they are. I think you get my point. This is the kind of product that is childlike, playful. Explore this, it's going to be fun and it's going to surprise you. And that's awesome. And the Praga is a massive mixer, professional grade mixing, super low noise that you can rely on for the most precise mixing. Both of them are great, and the question is, to you, what is your instrument like? Is it more playful? Is it more scientific? Is it somewhere in between? Where do you put yourself in this market? I find this really, really interesting because there's so many parameters you can work with and figure out that it makes for a really interesting puzzle to solve. Transition. Now, when it comes to SynthUX, it's a bit different. The way that the brand identity is defined and like all these instruments are quite different, but also kind of the same, is defined based on the constraints that we actually have as a community. This instrument, for example, which, by the way, you should really see how awesome this is when you turn light on it. You see these? So you know how you actually need to give feedback to the user as you tap on something to know if you actually pressed on it? We're actually going to have LEDs under, and it's just going to look like these bubbles. And then with a tape, it's going to look like this, and it's going to have different RGB colors to indicate what you're actually recording and how it's playing. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that a brand is defined by the people who run it. So if Joel from Chase Bliss or Jason from Instro are like really following their own passion, their own language, then I am going to buy their products because I really feel the authenticity that that is brought through the brand, the marketing campaigns, and everything around that. And especially when you're a small company, when you're a small manufacturer, this is a really important thing to think, what am I good at? What do I like? What do I appreciate in other brands? And how can I bring this to my own product? With SynthUX, the main challenge that I'm facing now is that it's been 4 years and I'm still not really reaching the main goal of the organization, which is to bring more designers to the table. So the faceplates and the user experience can actually come from different people. Because although these might look kind of, different from one another, they're still like my fingerprints are all over them, quite literally. But if we actually manage to bring more graphic designers who maybe not know how to do electronic boards. You don't need to know how to do electronic boards or to do all the, there are like a lot of different parts in this. I completely understand. This is really challenging. To release instruments to the world is not an easy task, I can tell. But because we're a community and we're supporting one another, we can actually help one another to bring these original ideas to the world. So if you have ideas to instruments, or if you're a graphic designer or an animator or a game developer and you want to design instruments, just not sure how to bring them to the world, or maybe you are already doing it as a DIY thing at home, like Audrey was basically just a sketch of code. And the same thing with Spotikacz, which in a couple of months is going to be released. These things, this was just an idea that Vlad had a couple of years ago, and then it became a DIY kit, and now it's becoming an instrument that we're going to see in shops around the world, which I think is absolutely amazing. And again, still limited by the fact that I'm designing these, so time constraints and kids and so on. But if you guys have ideas or skill to draw and design, join us and let's make more of these happen. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching and taking so much time for this video. I really appreciate your time. Write comments below, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next week.